Hello, my name is Annalie Carruthers, and I am the organizer of the Toyin Falola Interviews. Welcome. In this series, Dr. Falola, globally renowned scholar and professor, will interview scholars and policymakers whose work and research are particularly relevant for the African continent and its peoples, including the diaspora. Dr. Falola will also discuss the scholars' most recent books with them. The ultimate goal in this series is to promote the work of great minds and to spread knowledge to the general public about current intellectual projects that these great minds are pursuing. Research themes can include, but are not limited to, the following: African affairs, African migration, religion, culture, intellectual history, development issues, theories, women's rights, disability rights, post-colonial society in Africa and other parts of the global South, and globalization. These discussions will be recorded over Zoom, and these recordings will be distributed on the Toyin Falola Network Facebook page, Twitter, and website. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope that you enjoy.
Ilela ìwé mẹ́sẹ̀rin fi wé ìlera orin àparò náà ti dó mẹ́sẹ̀ rájò bí yóò ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́ yóò ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́ àìní inú ní fi wé ìlera ìwé mẹ́sẹ̀rin fi wé ìlera orin àparò náà ti dó mẹ́sẹ̀ rájò bóyá ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́ yóò ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́. Bend down low, share up, no time to worry, deal. Pardon me, let's turn up, it's time to bubble, deal. Come when no getting, I got the air from chase fly. If life show you pepper, use and make pepper soup. Remember, only pepper nile adire. Lay your cocoa in my at all. There's no way down, no bring down from heaven. Rich man no bring money from him mama belle. I need no every way Ilela. Ìwé mẹ́sẹ̀rin fi wé ìlera. Ó yá pàrọ̀ náà ti dó mẹ́sẹ̀ rájò. Ó yá ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́. Ó ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́. I know you need fi wé Ilela. Ìwé mẹ́sẹ̀rin fi wé ìlera. Ó yá pàrọ̀ náà ti dó mẹ́sẹ̀ rájò. Ó yá ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́. Ó ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́. I can wait fi dọ́nà ìmọ̀lá o. Ọ̀lẹ́ mà hé mẹ́bí pọ́nẹ́. Òrùn yóò ké mà tí lè ṣàṣọgbẹ́. Ojú ọ̀lẹ́ ìgbàdo mẹ́kọ́ yìí. Ṣọ́gbọ́n remember orí bàbá nílẹ̀ adire. Lẹ́yìn òkùnkùn ìmọ̀lẹ̀ àtàn òkú. Head no way down, no bring down from heaven. Rich man no bring money from him mama belle. I need no every way Ilela. Ìwé mẹ́sẹ̀rin fi wé ìlera. Ó yá pàrọ̀ náà ti tó mẹ́sẹ̀ rájò. Ìjọ ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́. Ìjọ ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́. I need no every way Ilela. Ìwé mẹ́sẹ̀rin fi wé ìlera. Ó yá pàrọ̀ náà ti tó mẹ́sẹ̀ rájò. Ó yá ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́. Ó ká mi lẹ́gbẹ́. Thank you. Hello, Eurovision fan all over the world. This is the winning song for Afro Music Song Contest 2020, and the title Jamie is for all donors all over the world. This song is is dedicated to all mothers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. I could cherish you forever for what you do for me. I could love you like no other for what you do for me, mama. Be a mekala, be a meka no go. Dele mo yọnu fún ẹ ṣí o. Mi bí èmẹ́ta lọ bí èmẹ́ta lọ́wọ́. Dele mo yọnu fún ẹ ṣí o. Ọ̀nà ẹ̀bá ẹ̀ náà kí ìwé ṣe o. Ìwé ṣe ni ọmọwé dúró di ìdídó lọ. Ọ̀nà ẹ̀bá ẹ̀ náà kí ìwé ṣe o. Ọmọwé dúró di ìdídó lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè ayọ̀ gbé mi lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè ayọ̀ gbé mi lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè mèrè gbé mi lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè ayọ̀ gbé mi lọ. Mo torí tọmọ mi yọ ọmọ wo ní ògbé mi lọ. Bíbí yóò tó ní mọ́ yóò tọ́lá gbé mi lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè mèrè. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè ayọ̀ gbé mi lọ. I will cherish you forever for what you do for me. I can love you like no other for what you do for me, mama. Yeah, me oh, yèmí òde èrò kí máa bá mi o. Wọ́n tètè wálé o. Ọ̀nà ẹ̀bá ẹ̀ náà ìwé ṣe o. Yèmí ọmọwé dúró di ìdídó lọ. Ọ̀nà ẹ̀bá ẹ̀ náà ìwé ṣe o. Yèmí ọmọwé dúró di ìdídó lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè ayọ̀ gbé mi lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè ayọ̀ gbé mi lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè mélè gbé mi lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè ayọ̀ gbé mi lọ. Nítorí tọmọ mi yọ ọmọ òní ò gbé mi lọ. Ilé yóò tó nígbà yóò tọ́lá gbé mi lọ. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè mélè. Ọmọ mi gbé mi lékè ayọ̀ gbé mi lọ. I'll make you proud of me. I'll make you proud of me. I'll make you proud of me, my mama. I'll make you proud of me. Thank you.
Be part of the celebration as Oshemawe marks the 2021 edition of the Oduduwa Festival.
The Oduduwa actually commemorates the institution of monarchy in Ondo Kingdom, and we do celebrate it every year. As a sort of remembrance of the commencement of monarchy in Ondo Kingdom.
ní ìgbàgbọ́ ṣe dáa ẹni mọ̀ bá wọn ṣe o. Bí ìmọ̀lẹ́lẹ̀ ṣe dáa ẹni bá wọn ṣe. Àbáyé ẹ̀yìn ọdún mọ́mọ́ ìsán ní o.
Àbáyé ìlú wà mí àdìmúlà lówó ẹrú ọgbà gbọmọlà alábẹ́ àrísásí gbàdàmúbọ̀sà ọmọ lónìí lílu òfẹ́ ó tú ọmọ ẹni ẹ̀wẹ́sìn ọmọ lẹ́wọ̀ wọ̀nyí ọmọ lẹ́wà ìmàgbòdé kan ọmọ lẹ́wà ìmójúbò mi ọmọ lúwọ̀n sísẹ̀ ó là ní o mo kú ọdún yìí o mo di àkọ́wọ́ apẹ́ ìgbà àsàn wá ọba jílò ó jílò bí ṣòjé ní ọba jílò wo màlà ní ọba yẹ ọmọ ṣòro ní dèbí ẹlá ọba o ọba jílò wo màlà ní ọba pupa ọba ṣòro má gbàlagbé ọba o ọba jílò bí ṣòjé ẹ dáná fún ẹ ọ̀nà àjí lónà sànẹ ajé ọmọ náà mú ìbọn palẹ̀ pápá ṣùgbọ́n tẹ ibẹ̀ yẹn olúwa mi ajigbajigba lẹ̀kẹ̀ ajigbajigba kan ọmọlẹ́wà ìmàgòdé kan ọmọlẹ́wà ìmójúbò mi ọmọlẹ́wù wọ̀nyí ó wà láyé iná wọ̀ ó wọ̀ kú gúnná lẹ́ òmọ́ máa ẹ́ bọ́dí yẹ ká fún ná wọ ẹsẹ̀ yìí Ondo di àìsàn níbi tẹ ọba ẹ wàṣọdún ni wàṣẹ ẹ̀mú ẹ̀ ògbà ọ̀wá hàn ẹ àkó níṣòro ogún ẹ kóńdó àyẹ rọ ogún ẹ kólu ìbànújẹ́ àwọ̀lú níbi tẹ ẹ yìí o ṣàn ká sàn máa yìí o wíwá mi mo kí ẹ o mo kí ẹ mo ṣọba yé ọba yé wọ̀ ní dídáná ẹ̀ ọba yìí gba ẹ̀sán ní ìgbà lélẹ́lẹ́lẹ́lẹ́ ikó ìgbà wo dáná ní àdá ìwọ̀n ìgbà lélẹ́lẹ́lẹ́lẹ́ ikó ọba jílò ìgbà wo dáná máa àdá ìwọ̀n mọ́tò kì í ọba mi ìlú ó mà.
sọ nìyẹn.
èké ṣe fọ́.
ó ní ọlọ́run ni onídùúró ó ní ṣùgbọ́n ọlọ́run tún wá ju onídùúró lọ.
àìrọ́ àǹtí tọ́pẹ́ ṣìfọ̀ tí ayé bá fẹ́ la yálàpò àti aròfin ó ṣeé ṣe di ọ̀nà ìsálọ àfi go and bring your guarantor àti mọ guarantor wo mú wáyà mú nímọ̀ náà ẹ̀.
on condition tó ẹ̀ bá san owó nẹ̀
bẹ́ẹ̀ni òde
guarantor ẹ̀ dò
sán bẹ́ẹ̀ni ìyẹn ní fi ọyọ ní òkọrin ẹ ti rí fi ènìyàn dùn mọ́kàn tán ènìyàn dùn gbẹ́kẹ̀lé mo ti ibi guarantor ti pa fóònù ẹ̀ ìjẹ́ ti bu yín dàrán òṣèré yẹn ló ẹ má pè mí mọ́ ẹ má pè mí ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ọkọ̀ mi gbọ́dọ̀ gbọ́ fí mo la ṣe guarantor àwọn ènìyàn ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ẹ̀ mọ̀ disappoint ọ ní ó wá fi ọlọ́run ṣe lùdúró òun èṣì fọ́ ó ní bó jẹ́ níyàn ló dúró ní á ti máa sọ̀rọ̀
àti ká ti tòkù tó
bàbá ń dùn bó jẹ́ níyàn ló dúró ní á ti sá lọ
àti ká kọ̀wé
bó bá jẹ́ níyàn ló dúró ní á ti máa sírè ó ti àgbígbà
ó ní dúró mi
ẹ ṣe àmẹ́rọ̀ ìdè sórí Ondo àwọn fi dúró kọ. Ní báyìí a fẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ program yẹn náà nìyẹn àwa fẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú anthem Ondo dédédé program bá ti la ṣe mo lọ ìṣùà mẹ́ta kí ẹ fi mo lọ ìṣùà yẹn gbé mi lọ sí ìṣùà Lakers ló gbé mi lọ sí ìṣùà àkókò nígbà ìfù ìṣùà Ondo bí n bá tún ayé wá Ondo máa yà yìí wọ́n yóò jókòó abẹ́ kánópì ìjọba ń pàtẹ́wọ́ kà ẹ sí ìlú mẹ́ṣà tí la ṣe MC ibẹ̀ tí kíyàn wọ́n based on my experience and statistics and research Ondo ṣe number one agbájúmọ̀ ẹ̀kẹ́ bí Ìjẹ̀bú àbágbàtẹ́wọ́ kan Ondo ṣe
Mótòtò mo fún bí àpọ́yì ní kìlá ṣe ń sì ibẹ̀ mo ti kọ́kọ́ dùn ìgbà tí kẹsẹ̀lẹ̀ ìṣòmùsẹ̀ wọ̀ nílé ṣé o máa fi àwọn ènìyàn àpọ́yì wọn ẹ̀ ó ní òṣèyí ẹ̀ ṣé kí nìyẹn àwọn ọmọge wọn bí àwọn pọ́pọ́pọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ̀ pọ̀ àwọn ẹ̀ka ṣé
ìdúró mọ́tò tán mọ́tò tán kò ṣe náà tẹ̀bra
dẹ́bẹ́ ni mi tẹ̀bra ní odò ṣé ọmọge kankan ní kàtúmọ̀ ẹ̀ wájú ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ̀bra bàbá gbẹ̀gbọ́ ìbọ̀rọ̀ tẹ̀bra ebi kẹ́mi mà bí ṣe é fi wo kú bọ̀ wo.
ọba okoko abáyíyé aṣọ ìṣùmọ̀ràn o. ó ní ọdún ọba náà ń dò ó àjàláyé wo kú ọdún lúwàmí àdìmúlà ẹkùn ọkọ olórí láyínká ọmọ wọn nàgọ máa dẹ olùbákun mọ débọ mẹwù o. ọba okoko lúwàmí o àdìmúlà o. wọ́n láni o ọba Adesimbo Kiladejo wo kú ọdún aṣọ ìṣẹ̀wọ̀n ẹ̀ ajiwajiwa ìlẹ̀kẹ̀ ojiwajiwa kan ọba sọyí adéjẹlẹ náà gọfẹ ìyè ọkẹbẹ lèrèlèrè náà yẹ o ọmọ ẹdínlógún Kiladejo jí ló bójìbó jí ló bójé ọmọ ọba òkúta ọba pupa ládépẹ́ náà iye ọlọ́pàá ìlẹ̀kẹ̀ o òṣọkọ Èkìtì ṣọkọ àkókò èsì àkókò àbòmọ̀sẹ̀ bẹ́sọ̀ba òṣèmọ̀wé ọkọ dídú ọkọ pupa kú ọpọlọpọlọ ògbàyé gbọmọlà èdè akọlùmípa bí ọ̀nẹ́nẹ́jọ́ ló bọ̀ ẹ́ wí àjàláyé kúkú aláṣẹ ògbàyé gbọmọlà ọba okoko kúkú ọdún òní òkè àjàláyé ẹ̀wù mọ̀ kan lẹ̀ o. Bọ́lá ní lúwàmí àdìmúlà o. Ẹ̀rọ bá fẹ́ ọba o, abáyíyé mọ̀ kú ọdún. Ẹ̀rọ bá fẹ́ o, ọba o, arọ́bà fẹ́ ọbẹ̀ payé. ìṣẹ̀wọ̀n ẹ̀ àjìwájìwá ìlẹ̀kẹ̀ òjìwájìwá kan.
Welcome to this interview. We want to start with an homage which will be performed in the palace for 2 minutes. Please, the homage.
Àjàlẹ̀ apẹ́lódé o. Bàbá yìí, òkú aláṣẹ, òkèjì òòṣà, gba agbọmọlà, ìdí akọlù ń pa, Àjàlẹ̀ apẹ́lódé o.
Bàbá yìí, òkú aláṣẹ, òkú àgbọmọlà, ìdí akọlù ń pa, òjìwàjíwà lẹ̀kẹ̀, ó ṣọkọ Èkìtì, ó ṣọkọ Àkókó, ó tún mọ̀ wọ̀ léwu, ìtẹ́ òní gbóná máa wò, à ń yẹ pàlẹ́ yò.
Àbáyé, ikú aláṣẹ, gbogbo àgbọmọlà, èdè akọlù ń pa, kíní àárín ó gba aṣọ, ọlẹ́gbọ̀n ìwọ̀ yìí, báyà Àjàlẹ̀ apẹ́lódé o.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's my pleasure to start the program as the moderator of this. We're on 7 platforms, and we have to thank our partners in Europe, the Ile-Ife television, which is live now to over 1 million people. People are watching on Facebook, and a minute ago, 9,000 people have joined in, and the number will grow very substantially in the next 5 minutes. We thank them, and we thank the KBC for accepting this invitation. What we do is, for the benefit of those who have not joined us before, we will introduce the professors who will ask him questions. And the first person to ask a question is Professor Tayo Oloruntoba-Oju, who is a professor of dramatic literature with emphasis on African American, and Caribbean drama. She took her PhDs and degrees from the University of Ilorin and Ibadan in English, performing theater, and she has been lecturing for over 30 years. She's currently a professor at Adekunle Ajasi University, Akungba in Nigeria. Welcome, Professor Oloruntoba-Oju. Please fill your...
I'm happy to be here, and I'd like to thank the organizers and to specially thank our special guests, the Oshemawe and paramount ruler of Ondo Kingdom, Oba Dr. Victor Adesimbo Kiladejo. I greet you with utmost respect and reverence. And I'd like to take my first question immediately. And it goes thus. The Yoruba nation is a diverse community, but most of the communities trace their ancestry to Ile-Ife or to Oduduwa. What is the case with Ondo Kingdom? In other words, how is Ondo related to the Oduduwa dynasty? That's my question, Your Majesty. My first question, Your Majesty.
In the olden days, the wife of Oduduwa, the progenitor of Yoruba race, delivered a set of twins. And as of that time, it was an abomination. The penalty for the delivery of twins is that the mother and the children will have to be killed. So, on sighting the twins, the king was embarrassed, knowing fully well the repercussion of delivering a set of twins. What happened was that the king, following the embarrassment, exclaimed and said, Eshe Omore, meaning this is an abnormal child. This is abnormal children. And it's from that exclamation, Eshe Omore, that the name Oshemawe was coined. In other words, Oshemawe is a contraction of Eshe Omore, that is abnormal situation. Now again, realizing the repercussion of or the faith of the mother, the favored wife of Oduduwa, and the children, what happened was that the king decided to that they should be moved out of the palace and taken to a distant place. That was the beginning of a journey. And to do this, the king, that was done to prevent the mother, the twins and their mother from being killed. Now, before they left, Oduduwa planted 2 tribal marks on each of them, of the twins, one on each cheek. That was meant to, that was just for identification. So they set, and then he also gave them one crown, a beaded crown, that is one of the things that is used for recognizing the throne and the king. And then they were followed by a large entourage. Included in that entourage are chiefs, slaves, warriors, medicine men, and on and on. Everything just to safeguard the life of the favored wife, the favorite wife of the king, as well as the twins. So they set us out on the journey. And getting to the first place, the chiefs that followed them, the major chiefs were, one, the Ija. Ija was a hunter, a renowned hunter, and a medicine man. With Ija were 2 other prominent chiefs, Akunara, Chief Akunara, and Chief Shora. Chief Akunara and Chief Shora were adherents of Oramfe, of Ife. So they followed them. The first place they settled was at a place called Ijama. They were there for some time, and later, after some years, they decided to continue with their journey because they considered Ijama being that to be unsafe for the entourage. This, from Ijama, they've now moved over a long distance until they got to a place called Ile-Ife. Ile-Ife is very far from Ijama, but somehow very close to Ondo, just about 7 kilometers to the present day Ondo. It was there that they spent many years as well, and later they consulted the oracle, the Ifa oracle, and Ifa gave them a mystical yam stick, which we call a dough. And the instruction to them was that wherever they get to, and that yam stick refused to enter the soil, that's where they should settle. Like I said, it was a mystical stick, yam stick. So they embarked on the journey. Eventually, they got to a point where they poke that yam stick into the soil, and it refused to enter. They now exclaimed, Edo, Dudo, that is, the yam stick refused to enter the soil. Again, Ondo is derived from Edo, Dudo. Now, on getting to Ondo, to the present day Ondo, they met some people. There were some hamlets, and there were some people there. The people actually recognized were the Udokos, the Oka people, and the Fore people. The Udokos put up some resistance, but the Udoko people were subjugated. They were easily defeated. And but the Fore as well as the Oka people surrendered immediately because of the perceived valor of the migrants. In other words, the import of that is that the paramountcy of Oshimawe started from the very day that the migrants set their feet on Ondo. And the other people, I'm referring to the Forest, the Okas, and the Udokos, immediately started absorbing and assimilating the culture and tradition of the migrants. I'm talking of the Ondo people. It was the female, the female twin survived the journey, the strenuous journey. And on getting to where they eventually settled, that is where the yam stick refused to enter the soil. After settling, that female twin eventually became the king. That again is very, very important, because Ondo Kingdom happens to be one of the very, very, very few traditional communities that started with a female monarch. So from there, there and then, the monarch now had her council of chiefs, and everything was going on well. And it was later discovered that she just could not concentrate on state affairs. Rather than concentrating on state affairs, she was more concerned with domestic issues, particularly taking care of her fowls and other domestic animals. This did not go down well with the Council of Chiefs. After a series of warning, he was eventually made to abdicate the throne. And she was replaced, but then was given a soft landing, such that she handed over everything to her first son. The name of that her first son was Airo. In other words, the then King Pupupu transferred everything that had to do with royalty to Airo. As a matter of fact, the word Airo stands for replacement. The son completely replaced her. It's not the usual way in which a king passes on or transit and somebody takes over. But the whole power was transferred, the bead, the crown, and everything. Thereafter, the mother, being the traditional mother of the king, was made to settle in another place. And she was given the title of Lobun. Lobun in Ondo, Obun in Ondo stands for market. So she was made to be in charge of, in fact, to be in charge, to be the person that will be leading those that will perform ceremonies or sacrifice on any market to be established in Ondo Kingdom. The other role of Lobun, right from that time, was to be involved in the installation of any Oshimawe that is to be enthroned. And what he does the symbolic way of removing the bead from her neck and hanging it on the neck of Oshimawe and giving the royal hostel to the Oshimawe. And then both of them, she prays for Oshimawe and the Oshimawe also prays for her. Now, those are the major roles. In other words, the Lobun are for, the roles of Lobun are one, the issue of markets, and the second one, the role she has to play with respect to the installation of any new Oshimawe that is enthroned. Now, the importance of that also is a unique thing. One, the complete transfer of power from mother to son, and that transfer is like two becoming one, the man and the woman becoming one. And that's why when Oshimawe is to be greeted, people will say Abaye. Abaye means father and mother. Father referring to, mother referring to Pupupu, the first monarch, and father referring to subsequent Oshimawes. So the issue of that of Oshimawe throne is completely different. Kabiyesi Airo, is credited with the very strong traditional institution of Ondo Kingdom. Somewhere along the line, he actually went to some cities, some communities. It's on record that he went to Benin in particular, where, to learn palace administration. And that will explain the similarities. Some similarities you see between the custom and tradition of Benin and Benin City and Ondo City. We share some similarities. And another reason why we share such similarities has to do with the proximity. We are neighbors, and so we have cultural and traditional exchanges and all that. It's also on record that one of our high chiefs, called High Chief Jomo, actually came from Benin. He came, and that's the only high chieftaincy title in Ondo Kingdom that is hereditary. The importance of that also is that we keep hearing, there's a version of history that claims that Ondo originated from Benin. We know our history. It was because of all these factors that we shared customs and tradition. And again, the other thing is that the author of that version happens to be a Benin chief called Dr. Jacob Evorave. So that explains that, because we have different versions, people claiming one thing or the other. This opportunity is to clear all that. Ondo is a highly respected community. We know where we come from. We know the people we share customs and tradition with. We know our ancestors. And I'm now saying that Ondo monarch is a direct descendant of Oduduwa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kabiyesi. Let me do a short follow-up. And I want to go to Agoiwoye, where the title of the king is Ebumawe. So one tradition from Agoiwoye's side is that the other twin was the one who founded Agoiwoye. So either way, take it as a relationship between the Ondo and the Jebu, or we have to probe this further. Is there an Ondo version of this story? Is there an Ondo version of this founding of Agoiwoye linked to the second twin that you don't mention in the Ondo records? Thank you, sir.
See, thank you, Professor Oloruntoba. As Oshemawe, I want to concentrate more on the origin of Ondo. But then I cannot claim ignorance of the version you are talking about. We have different versions. There is a version that we have, I mean, Oshemawe has some things to do with Oyo. But then we know the kind of tribal marks that the Oyo people have. There's another version that has to do with our relationship with Ile-Oluji. Then there's another one that has to do with Ebumawe and Ile-Oluji and Ondo. Let me just confess to you that we take all of them as one of us. We're all Yorubas, and what we want is unity. We are not expected to start talking about the origin of other communities. And I'm sure the other communities will be given the opportunity of telling their own stories. Because we come into, and you know that when we talk of history, particularly long history, you know, I started by saying in time immemorial. That is long ago. So all I just want to say is about the origin of Ondo Kingdom and the way we come to, the title of Oshemawe, of the king of monarch of Ondo being Oshemawe, and how we started having bearing tribal marks on our faces, that is one on each cheek. So just permit me to stop at the level of Ondo, specifically Ondo.
Okay.
And in a way, most of the communities originated from Oduduwa. So we have one thing or the other to link us together. But that particular aspect of the history, I don't want to say much about that. Thank you very much, Prof.
Professor Oloruntoba, please. Unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Your Majesty, for the detailed, insightful, and very interesting accounts that you've given about Ondo Kingdom's ancestry. It was also very well articulated. Thank you very much, Your Majesty. My next question is this. It is known that the Oshemawe monarch has had more than 500 years of recorded history. What has been the structure of governance of the Ondo people in all these years, especially in the earliest times? Thank you, Your Majesty.
Thank you very much. Like I said, Ondo started long ago. The 500 years we are talking about has to do with the documented history of monarchy in Ondo Kingdom. And let me also say this, that during the 500 years of existence, Ondo Kingdom has experienced 2 centuries of slave trade, another century of colonial rule by the British. We have also experienced 3 decades of military rule. By now, we are experiencing the 4th experiment with with civilian rule. During this period as well, war actually came to us through Ore. And then we have passed through 3 different political states, namely Western region, the old Ondo state before the creation of Ekiti state, and then the new Ondo state. Let me also use this opportunity to say that despite all these challenges, variety of governance and all that, something has united us. And that is the kind of governance we have in Ondo State. I'm talking of the traditional governance. That traditional governance is, at the apex of it all, we have the Oshema way. And then the Oshema way, during the pre-colonial period, the king had autonomous authority. He was all in all. He decides on anything. The king was not even believed to make any mistakes at all. That was during the pre-colonial period. Whatever the king wants, he gets. All the land belongs to Oshemawe. One can go on and on. But then, during the colonial period, the whole thing started changing. Now, let's talk about it. But the important thing is that the monarchy, the Oshemawe monarch, as well as the traditional institution under him, has been responsible for the stability that we have enjoyed in Ondo Kingdom. It's often said that Oge Kondo Ayo. That is because of the very strong, well-organized mode of administration, mode of governance. And under Oshemawe, directly under the Oshemawe, we have the high chiefs, which we call Logun. So-called Logun means feed my child. They are in charge of some areas, and just to make sure that they ward off any external aggression. As for the high chiefs, there are 6 of them, namely the Lisa of Ondo Kingdom, the Jomo of Ondo Kingdom, the Oduduwa of Ondo Kingdom, the Sachere of Ondo Kingdom, the Adaja of Ondo Kingdom, and then the Odofin of Ondo Kingdom. All these high chiefs constitute, together with Oshemawe, constitute the Oshemawe in council. Let me also put in something that we have been developing in every sphere of life. Why? Because we are lucky to have very committed Oshema ways, right from inception to date. They are committed. They are not. They know. I mean, they are to the welfare of the people. We have good, committed Oshema way, and then we also have very good followership in the people of Ondo. The Ondo people are proud of anything that has to do with Ondo. Anywhere you see an Ondo man, you will easily know that this is an Ondo man, because being a man of dignity, they behave in such a way that they are always good examples to others. Now, directly under the high chiefs, we have the Ukule chiefs. There are they have 7 senior chiefs, and one of them is the Logboshele that is in charge of the Otu chiefs. I single that out because there is all the Otu chiefs under Logboshele have one role or the other to play with respect to the Oshema way. They are the Oshema way chiefs. We have Otu chiefs. Otu chiefs that are in charge of the crown of Oshema way. We have another one in charge of his dresses, another one in charge of his shoes, another one in charge of his beads with different names, different titles. We even have Otu chiefs in charge of the wives of Oshema way. They take care, they are somewhere making sure that nothing happens to the wife. Now, under the Okule chiefs, we have the Elegbe chiefs. No, the Okule chiefs are in charge of administration, as far as Ondo is concerned. Then, immediately after the Okule chiefs, we have the Elegbe chiefs. We have 15 senior Elegbe chiefs. And under each of those so-called quarter chiefs, we have so many other chiefs. And then recently we have the Ijama chiefs. The Ijama chiefs, as well as the Elegbe chiefs, are for security, internal security. They are like police in the community. The Elegbe chiefs and the Ijama chiefs, each of the hierarchy have, each of them has 15 senior chiefs with many chiefs under the quarter chiefs. So by so doing, every nook and corner of Ondo Kingdom is covered in terms of surveillance, security, administration, and everything. Then under the Ijama chiefs, we have the Olojas. Olojas are for the neighboring communities, the other towns, villages, hamlets, and so they are for the administration of such places. And they report regularly to the Oshema way, whatever is happening at their respective areas of jurisdiction. We also have the Baale chiefs. What I'm trying to say is that we have a system that is foolproof, a system that takes care of virtually everything. And that's why we have been enjoying relative peace in Ondo Kingdom. The Oshema Way Council, I'm now talking of the Kabiyesi, the Oshema Way himself, and the high chiefs hold meetings at least once every week. But the Oshema Way and all the other chiefs, we hold meetings every nine days. And that offers us the opportunity of whatever is going on in the different areas, irrespective of how far the location is. Again, the territory of Ondo is very, very expansive. It extends from Owena, that's our boundary with Akure, to Ofoshu, that's our boundary with Benin, and then to our boundary with Ijebu, through, we share boundary with Ijebu as well. And so it's a large place, and so it was the way the whole thing is arranged, the administrative system, administrative governance is arranged, that makes proper administration possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I want to ask you a question about Adeyemi College of Education. They gave you a university and then they took it back. Kabe say, I just want to check that you can hear me. You cannot hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, sir. They gave you, I want to talk about Adeyemi College of Education. They gave you a university under Jonathan and then they took it back. Kabezi, the last time I was in your palace was with some senators, including the senator in charge of higher education. And I was there when he made that commitment that they already read the bill, Adeyemi College will become a university. Is there an update on this, please? Do we have an update on this?
Thank you very much, Professor Falola. I just have to thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about this subject. It's something that is very, very dear to us in Ondo Kingdom. Adeyemi College of Education was established in 1964. And we are talking of about 60 years. And this is an institution where we have many professors, doctors, and the physical structures. The physical structures are even better than those of most other universities. And they have been training they have been turning out graduates, university graduates, under the supervision of Obafemi Awolowo University for over 40 years. It's really surprising that it has not been upgraded to university status. Now, coming to the specific example you gave that it was proclaimed, it was said to have been upgraded to a university status. But what we were told by the present administration was that they wanted to perfect the structure and they just wanted to, the way it was, that they wanted to perfect the administrative aspect of it, and that they wanted it to be signed by, that there are some steps that they needed to take. But up to the present time, we are still waiting for them to do that. There were a race of hope very recently, but we are sure that the government in power will definitely get that done. We have whatever it takes. The land, we have a land that, of about 400 hectares, 400,000 hectares. I hope I'm right. And we have buildings, good buildings that could accommodate, that can make one to consider that place a university of any standard. And we have committed lecturers and the student population of about 20,000. So I wonder what we are still waiting for. It's not, I don't think that it's going to cost the government any additional money. It's just the proclamation. And it is my prayer that the present government will get that done. And the Ondo community as well as the entire Ondo state, as well as anybody that is interested in education, will be proud of. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Before I ask Professor Oloruntoba to ask a last question, I want to recognize the presence of 3 vice chancellors that are watching. Professor Mimiko, former vice chancellor, Professor Sunny, current vice chancellor of Fountain University, Professor Yakubu will be interviewing you later. And I want to recognize the preference of 2 Obas who are also watching in this program. The former governor of the state, Dr. Segun Mimiko, is also watching. When we talk about Adeyemi College, Professor Da Silva is here. One of the hall was named after him at Adeyemi College. So we have so many distinguished people who are part of this program. And I check the number that is now watching this program as we stream it is now 16,000. More people will join. So we are very grateful that this is very successful. So Professor Oloruntoba-Oju, please ask your final question.
Thank you very much, our most distinguished Kabiyesi. Your responses so far have made my work very easy. I'm not able to take all my questions, but because your responses are so detailed and compelling, they have covered a large area of the things I would have loved to ask. So I'll take the last one. And that is that a few years ago, Your Excellency, Your Imperial Majesty, the Ondo City Proclamation was made. Would Your Royal Majesty want to let our listeners into what this was all about? And maybe also tie that with how it has advanced the Ondo Kingdom as a whole. Thank you.
The proclamation started with the idea of Ondo City Vision. During the celebration of 500th anniversary of monarchy in Ondo Kingdom, to start with, the 500 years anniversary was a special celebration. Special in the sense that there is the likelihood, to the best of our knowledge, we checked records, we checked everywhere. Ondo Kingdom happened to be one of the few communities that celebrated 500 years of well-documented history. It was during that period that we now decided to embark on the City Vision project. The City Vision project was actually aimed at giving Ondo town a sort of accelerated development, such that within 5 years, Ondo will become a functional city with all the amenities. And to God be the glory. We were able to get that done. And all the the parameters for calling a place of a city were achieved. Talk of population, talk of size, talk of cathedrals, talk of a stadium, a very expansive stadium that can even host national team. Talk of the available opportunities. And then as of that time, we had 4 tertiary institutions. We also had education, health institutions. Everything was in our favor. And so it was not just calling, and then recreational centers. But then to do this, we started on with some development platforms. Namely, there are many of them, but I can still remember some. The Ondo Kingdom, Chambers of Commerce, Industry, and Agriculture, that was actually aimed at developing the commerce in Ondo Kingdom and to link our traders and our industrialists with the outside world. We did that successfully, and to God be the glory. We also have the technology, innovation, and education subcommittee to enable us to make our children self-sufficient and to be able to create jobs for themselves. And like we know, everything we do now has to do with technology. And then for us to develop our schools. There was also the infrastructure development and government liaison subcommittee. That also was well thought of, because you don't talk of the development of infrastructure of any community without taking what the government could do. And so we worked with the government, and to God be the glory, the government of the day did all that was possible to make it a reality in terms of schools, in terms of health institutions, in terms of everything you can talk of. And luckily for us, there was state government involvement in the proclamation. And so that's what that one was about. But and then we also have the Cultural Renaissance unit to take care of our customs and tradition and our highly respected traditional institution system, to put them on record. And we continue developing on these platforms. And so it's the proclamation, the Ondo city that was proclaimed, has developed over time. We are all proud of this. And we have to be thanking God for the idea and for what we have been able to achieve. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Kabesi. So Yoruba kings, they fight a lot over superiority. Who is superior? I'm the one who is superior. So what's your opinion, Your Imperial Majesty? And how do we locate the Oshimawe in this ranking? We know that 18th century, 17th century, those rankings did not exist because each Oba was autonomous in his own kingdom. So can you share some light on this rank, sir?
Thank you, Prof. That's a tough one, because my intention was to limit myself with anything that has to do with my people. Oshimawe is Oshimawe of Ondo Kingdom. And so I want to be very, very careful. However, let's start with the issue of rivalry. I'm not too sure that as far as Ondo Kingdom is concerned, Ondo Kingdom is not concerned with anything that has to do with rivalry, with respect to all the traditional rulers. Now, and Oshimawe again is not really interested in the ranking of traditional rulers. What is important to us, to Oshimawe, is what I can do as Oshimawe for my people in terms of security, in terms of development, in terms of unity of the people, in terms of every thing that has to do with development. That's the area I'm interested in. And so talking of ranking, that's not too important to me as the Oshimawe of Ondo, because I don't want to be involved with any controversy. But permit me to say something, even though I'm not interested, but it's on record that, like I said, during the pre-colonial period, the kingdom of Oshemawe was an autonomous monarch controlling a kingdom that spanned over a distance of, the width is about 70 kilometers. That's even more than the width of neighboring countries like Togo. Now, but however, like I said, there are some things on record in the British archive, in many records, that in the 1903 protocol list of Obas, I made reference to that because that was even before the creation before the amalgamation of the northern and the southern protectorate. And that is before the creation of Nigeria. That list has been the reference point. On that list, Oshemawe happens to be, I think the list was prepared by one MacGregor. Oshemawe occupies one of the first five traditional rulers. As of that time, not the one that is prepared with biased mind or with political involvement or whatever. We are happy with that history. Again, Oshemawe, somewhere along the line, following the 1963 Constitution, Oshemawe was at the time the chairman at Pelu. That's the assembly of all the Obas of the Yoruba kingdom. Yoruba states or Yoruba region. Again, Oshemawe was at a time a minister without portfolio. So you can imagine the position of Oshemawe as far as we are concerned. Like I said, what is important is whatever we can do for our people, whatever we can do to develop our respective communities, whatever we can do to bring unity to our people, and not the issue of the ranking of Obas. What I've said, they are just to put the record straight, because each king is a king of his people. And then, so that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Kabesi.
Thank you very much, Prof.
And thank you, Professor Oloruntoba-Oju, for your questions. If there is more time, we'll call you back. We are very grateful. We are going to take a 5-minute interlude to listen to Ondo drum and look at their instruments. Please, let's listen to Ondo drumming.
Àwọn tó ń dó.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll call you again. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ọmọ ìdílókù ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ àsákẹ́lẹ̀ ọmọ máa ń bọ́dí yàtọ̀ lókà fọ́nà òkè olúwa mi. Ó gbàgbọ́ mọ́là ó jẹ́ akọlùmpa àdìmúlà lówó ẹrú alábẹ́ àrísásí ọ̀nà ẹ̀dírí tó ní sànẹ́ ẹ̀wọ̀n kò ṣọ́kọ́ ìkìtì lọ́mọ àkókò ó tún ń tọ̀wọ̀ pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ àti ẹ̀ Ondo kí ẹ wò kú ọ̀la ẹ ó ti dá aṣà ń túbọ̀ kàn dáa yìí ẹ yàwá ẹ ọba aṣọ òyìnbó ọba aṣọ òyìnbó lódò. Ọmọlẹ́wù wọ̀yí ọmọlẹ́wù òkú ọmọlẹ́wù dẹ́ ìṣe o òkú kó wá jẹ adẹ́ṣe o nígbà tó ń lo ṣe ní ìdẹ ìṣe olúwa mi. Ẹ̀wọ̀n ni mo kí ẹ wọ́n kàn bá o mo kàn bá mo fi jòyè mo fi lùlù wọ́n gẹ́lẹ́ ẹ̀jẹ̀ lùlù ọ̀fẹ́ ó tún ṣe àwọn ká sàn kò wá lóko.
Ó ṣe ọ́ adúpẹ́ mọ́.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a very beautiful performance. We thank Mama for that poem. I now want to call on Dr. Adesimbo Kiladejo, who has been living in Ondo forever. He attended the universities of Benin, Ife, and Ibadan for his degrees, bachelor's and master's and PhD. And he has been teaching at Adesimbo College for a long time. And he has served as deputy provost of the college before, among other positions. He's traveled widely, is very much published. If on Adesimbo is a university, he will be among their distinguished professors today. Welcome, Professor Ajayi. Your questions, please. Thank you.
I want to thank you for bringing me on this show, sir. Abayo, Kabiyesi, Your Imperial Majesty ascended the throne of his forefathers in 2006. That's about 15 years ago. How are you prepared for this enormous responsibility? And what has been your experience since?
Thank you, Prof. Let me start with the experience. It's been quite challenging but quite enthralling. Challenging in the sense that each day comes with its own characteristic challenges and all that. And to God be the glory, with the support of my committed chiefs, I've been able to surmount all the challenges. And for me, challenges create an avenue for genuine development. So I thank God, because when you have challenges and you're able to surmount all the challenges, then you have cause to thank God, because at any point in time, you are definitely gain something from that. Now, the other part of the question has to do with my preparation for the throne. The issue of preparation, I think God prepares. It's not easy for one to start preparing for how to behave when you ascend the throne, because we always pray for the long life of any king that is on the throne. And the situation in which we have different ruling houses, you don't even know when it's going to be your turn, the turn of your ruling house. And within a particular ruling house, you have a lot of contestants. So it's difficult. So the issue of preparation. But then, God has a way of preparing people for wherever He wants to take them to. For me in particular, during my years in primary, secondary, university, and even when I went for my postgraduate studies outside the country, I occupied position of authority in each of those places. So God actually prepared me in for the position of leadership. It's God that prepares, not the way human beings. Again, there is another thing that is unique as far as Ondo Kingdom is concerned. The common thing is for the king to ascend the throne as soon as he is confirmed to be the king. But in the case of Ondo Kingdom, the first 6 months is meant to train the king, even after it's been, the person has been declared as the king. But at a stage, the first 3 months, one will be in a sort of solitude, and for one to experience the difficulties of life. And one will pass through that crucible of difficulties before you move to the next stage again, where you spend another 3 months, 6 months of hardship, receiving training from experienced people in the community. People will come and tell you what to do, the way things are done. And moreover, immediately I ascended the throne. Immediately I was proclaimed to be the king. I set up different committees, particularly among the chiefs. There was a particular one I called the chieftaincy, I can't remember. But then I picked chiefs from different hierarchies, and they met for a period of about 6 months, that committee, to come up with what they expect. That has been helpful to me. Again, apart from that, I also set up a group that should work on what they expect of their monarch. That also took a very long time. So with taking so many people into consideration and listening to them, I believe that I was well prepared. By the time it was right for me to ascend the throne. But then after the 6 months, one will expect that one will just move to the throne. All the 6 months, the whole of the 6 months, and are normally spent outside the palace. It is after the 6 months that one can now move to the palace. As if that was not enough, there was another issue. The king is not allowed to wear the crown for the first 3 years. It's part of the training. So I think that traditionally I was prepared. In terms of exposure, I was prepared. And even by virtue of my own profession, as a medical doctor, doctors are trained to be leaders in the vineyard of healthcare. And the training also, during the course of medical training, one learns quite a lot about the psychology of human beings. And so all these things prepared me for the throne. And I thank God for that. And also thank the people of Ondo Kingdom for their cooperation. Thank you very much.
Kabiyesi, some kings will respect all these traditions before they come to the throne. But we have cases of, not you, sir, they come to the throne and begin to say they don't believe in those traditions anymore. Sometimes they become more converted to Christianity. And a debate has arisen. If you know that you want to be a king, you have Muslims in your kingdom, you have Ogun worshippers in your kingdom, you have Christians in your kingdom. Why should the king now say, I don't want to do all those anymore because I now attend fellowship? And what should we do in circumstances like that? I know you don't want to get into controversy, but my job as a moderator is to push you to controversies.
Thank you very much, Prof. And I want to congratulate you that you have been able to push me into controversy. Let me start by saying that different communities have different ways of doing things. For Ondo Kingdom, Christianity came to Ondo Kingdom in the year 1876. And Christianity was embraced. You know what it means when other communities were still busy with whatever. We embraced Christianity, and with Christianity came commerce and Western education. Within 10 years after that, we also embraced the Islamic religion. Now, in other words, for us, there is, call it Christian or Muslim or whatever, we see ourselves as one. During the celebration of Oduduwa ceremony, for instance, there's an aspect of Oduduwa which is called Idijo. During the Idijo ceremony, it's always the duty of High Chief Jomo to make the proclamation as to the day that the Oduduwa will come up. And in doing that, there's a way he says it, and I'll tell you why that is important. He will say, that is, whenever Christians are celebrating, Oshemawe participates. That is, when the Muslim community are doing theirs, Oshemawe is involved. And I'm talking of the real traditionalists. During their own, Oshemawe also participates. He will then say that now Oshemawe is to celebrate his own. Everybody will say, we will now answer that they will be part of that ceremony and say, Abaye. Now, the import of that is that Oshemawe is Baba Esin in Ondo Kingdom. Call it Christian, call it Muslim, call it traditional religion, whatever you call it. Oshemawe is the father of all religion. And because of that, I mean, during the celebration, you see Christians, you see Muslims, you see traditionalists, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that we are all one. We work together. Oshemawe actually provides what I would say a canopy of unity for everybody, irrespective of your religion. And that's why we've never, since I ascended the throne, we have never experienced conflict between Christians or Muslims or the traditional religion worshippers. So, on the basis of that, it doesn't really matter, because since Oshemawe is father to all, I attend churches, I attend the mosque, the traditionalists, they also come to the palace, and as such, that of Oshemawe can be referred to as a civil religion that brings everything, everybody under an umbrella for the progress, for the development, and for the unity of Ondo Kingdom. So the issue of one abandoning one for the other doesn't arise as far as Ondo Kingdom is concerned. Thank you very much, Prof.
Professor Ajayi.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Kabiyesi, the political arrangement in Ondo is peculiar because of its gender sensibility to balance somewhat. The first Oshemawe was actually a female, like we have established. Would Kabiyesi wish to enlighten our listeners on the nature of the relationship between the female title holders under the Lobun and the palace?
Thank you very much. I think I've actually explained that before. Let me go over it. Lobun, by tradition, is the mother of the Oshemawe, and the roles and responsibility of Lobun is limited to one, the establishment of new markets where possibly sacrifices are offered. Also, Lobun is in charge of the Lobun chiefs, that is, those that are installed under Lobun. They are Lobun chiefs, and they also have their own hierarchy of chiefs, play a role during the installation of the king. And so there is nothing like the regent to Lobun. Because once the Lobun plays a role, that's all. There's nothing like Lobun again. But then the chiefs under her still have roles to play with respect to market. Like I said, Lobun stands for market. So there's that gender sensitivity or balancing, and that those female chiefs are often given recognition whenever we have anything to do. Is the recognition we really give them. And they do attend Uga with the male chiefs. But I will keep, for the sake of emphasis, there's nothing like Lobun. Immediately, she concludes her work to install a king. And as a matter of fact, no Kabiyesi is expected to know to Lobun. Once the Lobun installs a Kabiyesi, that's all. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes,
talking of
it's very clear, sir. It's very clear. So
balancing gender balancing, the roles of Lobun, and the relationship between Lobun and the king. As a matter of fact, once a king is once Lobun performs a role with respect to the installation of Kabiyesi, the true thing, I mean, the true situation by tradition is that Lobun should never set our eyes on the Kabiyesi again. And that explains why it is often said that no Kabiyesi in Ondo is expected to know two Lobuns. For me, the Lobun that installed me passed on about a week after my installation, and I buried her the way a son should bury his biological mother. I mean, everything provided by the throne. That is tradition for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kabiyesi. When you were reviewing your palace and all the objects there, I made a suggestion that we should do a separate video on those objects and explain it to the people. Professor Femimiko and I will discuss that further. I will discuss it with you some other time. But the question I want to ask is, can you not create a museum, an Ondo museum?
Is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. Let me start by saying that the palace itself is a museum. Everything in the palace. You know, you pointed our attention to some of the things in this particular part of the palace. There are many. You see, this is one of the thrones. We have thrones in different areas within the palace, and each throne has one role to play or the other. Now, coming to the issue of creating a museum, that was one of the things we did. We started during the celebration of 500th anniversary of Ondo Kingdom. You know, I made mention of cultural renaissance unit and all that. One of my high chiefs here seated happened to be one of the members, or a very strong member, that actually coordinated the establishment of a museum for us, and as well as the female that came to sing for Oshemawe during the course of this program. That I'm referring to Chief Mrs. Iluyemi, a former commissioner, two-time commissioner in Ondo State, and a renowned educationist. Let me even say something. One thing, there's something that is interesting as far as the tradition of Ondo Kingdom is concerned. That's also to answer the question asked by somebody as to the way things are done. All the high chiefs in Ondo Kingdom are accomplished men in different areas. We have renowned accountants, administrators, bankers, and all that, and engineers among them. And so what I'm saying, in effect, is that Ondo is lucky. It's a unique community where everything we touch is always blessed. Thank you, Prof.
Professor Ajayi, please. Your question.
Considering Your Majesty is a medical doctor with several years of medical practice before ascending to the throne of your forefathers, what has been the impact of Your Majesty in the health sector of Ondo Kingdom since Your Majesty ascended the throne?
Thank you, Prof. Like you said, I ascended the throne in the year 2006. And I think, all right, let me start with one of the important ones. I can proudly tell you, or tell the audience, that Oshemawe played a critical frontal role in the establishment of the University of Medical Science, as well as the University Teaching Hospital in Ondo Kingdom. And I want to thank the state government for that. The immediate past that started it, and the present governor that is making sure that things are working very well there. On behalf of the people of Ondo Kingdom, I wish to thank the government. But what I'm saying is that, by virtue of my profession, I played a very critical role in the establishment of those institutions. And apart from that, I also played my own role in the establishment of some other health institutions in the community. There's this university, Wesley University in Ondo, where luckily Oshemawe is the chancellor. Oshemawe built a medical center or health center that is fully, well equipped for the students and the workers. Then we also has a foundation, Oba Kiladejo Crown Foundation. That foundation has to do with primarily 3 or 4 things. The first one is health. The second one is education. The third one is economic empowerment, and then care for the inmates of correctional homes. Now, coming to the city, to the health aspect, we have been able to, we have what we call surgery festival. During surgery festival, we perform surgery operation for many people that cannot ordinarily afford the cost of surgery. We always do such surgeries for them free of charge. And with, hundreds of people always benefit from this on an annual basis. We even extend to the issue of taking care of children with cleft lip and palate, children with holes or lacerations on their lip and then under their palate, that is inside upper part of the mouth. We do that, and we bring doctors from virtually everywhere in Nigeria to helping us to perform such surgeries. And to God be the glory, they have always been successful. We are also involved with ophthalmology care, eye care. At times, there was a time we gave recommended glasses to over 1,000 people in Ondo Kingdom. Then the issue of health talk to educate our people, and we have had to be involved in the screening and treatment of what we call chronic non-communicable diseases like diabetes and hypertension. They are chronic diseases. They are diseases that you keep on treating over a long time, and unfortunately, they are silent killers because most people don't even know that they have such ailments. So the foundation, has been very, very helpful in that regard to diagnose, to screen so as to diagnose, and many of them will be on treatment courtesy of the foundation with all the drugs supplied by the foundation. Again, during the period of COVID-19, the foundation came into play. As a matter of fact, I'm proud. I don't want to use the word proud. I'm happy to inform the listeners that, to the best of our knowledge, Oshemawe was the first to embark on care for the COVID, not care, but providing food and money for the elderly. That of Oshima was limited to them. It was not just our providing them. We went to the extent of taking those things to their respective homes, because as of that time, it was not safe for people to move from one location to another. But we made use of people to ensure, to get that done. So one can go on and on as for what I've been able to do as far as the healthcare of my people is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Kabesi. So you've been talking about what we call modernization in the area of education, in the area of medicine, so which may allow somebody like me to say you're a progressive king, uplifting his own people. And I'm making this as a preface. There have been demands to revise the Constitution. One of your chiefs, Professor Mimiko, served on a national conference to revise that Constitution. And one of your chiefs also tried to run for the presidency of the country. So my question, and it's a question we've been asking forever, how do we integrate the office of the kings to governance and to democracy? How can we do that integration to deliver results for people?
Please come over that. Let me hear that. Or are you talking of? To me, it's like you are talking of the roles and responsibilities of the king in modern day governance. Am I?
Yes. And
that's the way. That's those.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you see, it's let's start from the olden days, and let's specifically start from the pre-colonial period. Like I said before, the king, Oshimawe, was an autonomous king with absolute power that can determine the life and death and all that and all that. That was on until the colonial masters came in. And when they came in, they whittled down the power of the traditional kings. But then, despite the effort to whittle it down, they realized that they could not do it alone. They still had to make use of the traditional rulers through a method they call indirect rule. Now the indirect rule is such that the king was more or less the head of the local government, while the colonial officer made the secretary. Then, and things worked fairly well. And what I'm trying to say is that even during the period of colonial rule, the kings were involved. If we follow that up again till the post-colonial period, there's the whittling down of the power of the monarchy, of the traditional institution, continued. Take, for instance, there was the Richard's Constitution of 1944 that reduced the power of the traditional institution. Then comes the McPherson of 1951, continuous reduction. Then comes that of Littleton in 1957, continuously like that until the independence period. And we had the Constitution, the 1916 and 1963 Constitution. Despite the calculated attempt to whittle down that power, even as of that 63 Constitution, the king still had lots and lots of roles to play. For instance, the king of Ife, Sir Adesimbo, at the time was the governor of Western region, and we had the premier under him. Then, as of that time, somewhere along the line again, Oshemawe was the chairman of all the Obas. Also, at that time, Oshemawe was a minister without portfolio. That's telling you that all along the throne, the monarchy has always been involved in peaceful governance in Nigeria. Now, by 1979, the power of the traditional rulers, was further whittled down, but then still came up in terms of having what they call the Council of Chiefs and membership of the Federal Executive Council, as well as that of State Executive Council. That was the 1979 Constitution. But in 1999 Constitution, unfortunately, no mention was made of the roles and responsibilities of the traditional rulers. And permit me to say that the result of that is what we are seeing. That's what we are seeing now. And it is my hope that things will change for the better. It's difficult to define specifically what we should do, but I'll come up with what my suggestion is going to be. But even before that, who are the traditional rulers of today? Come to think of it, we have there's hardly any traditional ruler now that is not a university graduate. Abundance of people that are very competent, people that are very experienced, people that are of matured ages, people that are ready to serve their communities, people that are committed to the welfare of their people, and knowing fully well that the position is a full-time, lifetime position. I don't know of any group of people that can claim, I don't know how such group of people can be put to the side. Take, for instance, we have professors, university dons. Asaba of Asaba, for instance, is a professor. Take the king of Jaws, a retired deputy controller of customs. Take the Oba of Lagos, a retired AIG. And as a matter of fact, Oshemawe also practiced as a medical doctor in in public and private capacity before he was called upon by his people. And now go to the north. The Sultan of Sokoto is a retired general. The Emir of Gwandu is a military general. The Emir of Zulu is a military general. And the Esunupe is also a military general. In other words, that position, is only for accomplished people that are very, very committed. Are those the people you now want to say that you limit to the confines of the palace, when you have whatever it takes in terms of age, experience, in fact, financial consideration, and all that. And you now put some people, young boys and girls are elected into position of authority, and you say that those people should be under, that the traditional institution should be under those people. I think that's why we are having the mirage of problems we are having. And I think something has to be done as far as that is concerned. You cannot throw those people. You cannot throw away the experience. You cannot so something has to be done. Well, we can say that, in a Republican government, that only elective people should be allowed to take part in the government. But then one cannot claim to be holier than Jesus Christ. Who are the people that brought our religion and our government to Nigeria? They are our colonial masters. Bearing in mind that Queen Elizabeth is still the position is still well recognized. She dictates a lot of things. Take, for instance, the period of this Brexit. The Queen of England was the person. They everybody was looking at her. I can remember that was in Britain during one of the elections when the Queen was to talk. He said, "My government," and that same Queen is also the head of the Anglican communion and all that. And why are we relegating our own to the background? I think something has to be done. To me, let me come up with my own proposal, which I think we should give the necessary consideration. I have a feeling that at the federal level, the kings should be involved, not to contest or to compete with the politicians, but there should be this National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria that can be meeting maybe a few times in a year, and our recommendations submitted directly to the federal government. I also believe that maybe few of the traditional rulers, maybe one or two, one from north, one from the south, to be attending the meetings of the National Council of States. At the state level, I would suggest that there should be State Council of Traditional Rulers. We already have that, but then there is need for that one to be given the necessary power. The roles will probably be more of advisory, and when government has problems, they can revert to us for us to solve the problems. And it has always been the case. Either the federal, the state, or local government, whenever they have problems, that is when they bring the kings together to help. It's like what happens is similar to a situation in which group of people with wet their houses with petrol, ignite fire, and then call on the kings to come and put it off. We hope things will change for the better. Now, at the local government level, let me say that the kings are the closest to the people. Our work is full-time, lifetime. We derive our legitimacy from the people. We live with them. We eat and wine with them. We know where the shoes pinches them. They listen to us. And so I believe that there is need for us to be very, very relevant at the local government level. Once the foundation is solid, then the superstructure can be taken for granted. I believe that the traditional institution should be the foundation for governance as far as Nigeria is concerned. Even in medicine, you will have the aggregation of cells becoming tissues becoming organs becoming the whole animal. So in the same way, you have the traditional institution being the precursor to the formation of anything we want to do. So my suggestion as far as the local government is concerned is that I believe it's possible to have the traditional rulers as the ceremonial head of the local government. I'm not saying that we should be involved with the day-to-day running of the local government. No. But as ceremonial head, if there's any major thing they want to do, there should be a way of ensuring that the traditional institution have a role, in that. Just for the king, the most senior king, to discuss before he even gives his verdict, he will also consult some of his chiefs and all that, so that we are all involved. Because whenever there's no involvement, there's no commitment. And who are the people that are taking decisions now? They are our great-grandchildren. And with what experience? They stayed there for 2 years. How did they even get there? We have an idea of the way they get there through their political masters. My belief is that something has to be done. It may appear to be difficult, but it's something that we can surmount. It's something, and that's what we need to move Nigeria forward. We need to lay that foundation. Consider whatever we want to consider. You see, we are not, I repeat, we are not to compete with them. We are not to contest with them. We are not to be involved with elections. We know that most people are in position, most people are in position, in elective positions, they are there to prepare for the next election. They are thinking of the next election. Whereas the traditional ruler knows that he has no option, he has no alternative but to take care of his own people. So to me, that's what we need to do at the federal, at the state, and then at the local government level. Prof, I want to thank you for this question. God will bless you.
Professor Ajayi, your last question, please.
Thank you, Majesty. Sorry, Your Imperial Majesty, sir. What is your take on the issue of philanthropy to assist the needy ones in society? Philanthropy.
Thank you very much. I thought I've actually answered that. With respect to my Oba Kiladejo Crown Foundation, I think I even have the brochure somewhere. I saw the brochure here. And I mentioned what we have been doing. I've talked about what we have done with regards to health. Then for the other areas, like economic empowerment, we assist people, the less privileged people. We also we are involved with training along the area of skill acquisition, and we provide them with tools. Also, in the area of education, we give scholarship, we give awards, we help we provide materials for some schools. That's a way of actually helping the people. And let me also say that is not peculiar to Oshemawe alone. All my high chiefs, they have a way of helping people. And this traditional institution is always to help people. Even our occupying the position we occupy, the position of Oshemawe is full-time. And also my high chiefs, all of them, they are also doing it on full-time as well. And they all have their foundations or means of helping the less privileged. We set up, apart from my foundation, the community set up the COVID committee in Ondo, and sons and daughters of Ondo Kingdom donated the money we use in taking care of everybody, the people with COVID, providing them with food, drugs, not for the treatment of COVID, but at least to help them during the period of the COVID era. I'm absolutely in support of how those that are blessed, those that can afford it, should be helping the less privileged. Some of my chiefs started embarked on helping, giving scholarship to students as far back as maybe 30, 40 years ago. And we are really proud of the contribution of the people of Ondo to the welfare of the well-privileged. Thank you.
Sir Kabesi, do you have a diaspora program? Because as you are aware, many of your citizens are doing so well. In fact, many of them have joined us on YouTube and Facebook. And one sent a question that the palace doesn't contact them in Houston and Dallas. As part of this modernization diaspora program, will it not be possible for you to set up an office in a major American city, very transparent, connected to modernization, in which your citizens abroad will be contributing money to the development of your kingdom?
Prof, I want to specially thank you for this question. You see, there are lots and lots to do as far as the throne is concerned. When you talk of anything that has to do with money, it's a very sensitive issue. But then, as for Easton and Dallas, I will still contact you to know the name or names of the people that are really interested in the issue of setting up an office. We work hand in hand to get that done. But recently I was in Easton, and I want to use this opportunity to thank them for the warm reception we received while there. Now, as for their contribution, there is a way we do it. Is it because for coordination, we have the Ondo Unity Forum in the Americas. That body has been working very well to coordinate the activities of our sons and daughters in America, and they have done it creditably well. Recently, I was involved in the commissioning of the computer lab they set up in front of the schools for the benefit of virtually all the secondary school students in Ondo State, Ondo Kingdom. Again, they were also involved during the Ondo City vision. They were involved with they contributed money, and that money was well utilized. One of the things we used the money for was construction of road signage in all the streets in Ondo City. And some of them do come to request for how they can do one thing or they could do one thing or the other for the community, and we have a way of doing that. Like I said, but then we have, even within the kingdom, we have a committee for the development of the community. That's the Ondo Development Committee. Ondo Development Committee was set up over 30 years ago, and the members are eminent sons and daughters of Ondo Kingdom. That committee is in charge, is the epicenter for development. So whoever comes, there's a way we involve the Ondo Development Committee, unless the group insists that they want such development to be coordinated by the palace. But we have been working hand in hand with them. Again, there is in UK, they have Ondo Union. In their own way also, they have been contributing to the welfare and the development of Ondo Kingdom. Like I said, I'm going to link up with our people in Easton and Dallas, because once there's a suggestion from anybody, I always want that person to be part of the solution, so as to be able to actualize the dream of the person or persons. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ajayi. Kabiyesi, with your permission, we want to take an interlude to enjoy an aspect of Ondo culture in music and poetry. Please, let's enjoy Ondo culture. Thank you very much, the drummers. We appreciate you. For those of you watching on this Zoom, there are some technical challenges. So it's my pleasure now to invite Professor Nuhu Yakub, a very well-known figure. He served as the Vice Chancellor of University of Abuja and the pioneer Vice Chancellor of Sokoto State University. Is a very well-known figure, extremely celebrated. He's contributed substantially to our understanding of Nigerian politics. He's very well trained in various locations, and he's made a major contribution to our higher education system. Professor Yakub, his wife is Yoruba, so it's also not just writing political science, doing our national integration. I had the pleasure of visiting him in Abuja on July 6th, where he served me amala with Begiri and the Wedu. Thank you, Professor Yakub. Your question, please.
Thank you so very much. Kabesi, I'm so highly honored to be interacting with you. And I must say that I have learned quite a lot from your wide and diverse knowledge, your wisdom, and the sincerity of purpose that you have deployed in your Obaship. My prayer, sir, is that God will prolong your life. You live very long. You have a very successful tenure, and your kingdom shall continue to be peaceful. You are a modern leader. You are a leader that will take your society, your community, and in fact, to a large extent, Nigeria, to higher heights. My first question will have been on the relevance of the traditional institutions in terms of its role in modern administration. But what we have said, to a number of the questions that have been raised, have virtually covered, what I think this question will require you to answer. But let me slightly modify it to ask. You have, for instance, you have suggested, Your Royal Majesty, that your suggestion for improving on the role of the traditional institution in modern governance is to ask for, at the federal level, a national council of chiefs. Well, I don't know what will be the criteria. What is going to happen likely is that the chairman of each state traditional council, is likely to be nominated. And at the end of the day, sir, we will have only 36, and probably if there's anyone from the federal capital territory, making 37 traditional rulers who will constitute this council. But that does not represent the diversity of the traditions and the diversity of the people of this country. My question, sir, is that at the federal level and as well as the state level, even taking it to the local level, we may still have aspects of the traditional institutions that are not represented in this recommendation we have made, which is quite solid. But if we compare our situation with countries like Malaysia, where they have a king that serves as the president, more or less the president at the national level, you discover that Malaysia is largely a Malay country, with one dominant ethnic group. The example of Britain, you also mentioned the Queen, is also a country that, the English is likely also the major ethnic group there. But in Nigeria, this diversity is just, too much. So, sir, what is likely to be the impact of the suggestion you earlier made about involving the traditional rulers or institutions in modern governance?
Thank you very much, my in-law, Professor Yakub.
Thank you, sir. Kabesi.
Let me start. Your first question has to do with the number of the traditional rulers in such an arrangement. If we have, you see, considering the senatorial district in each state, we have 3 per state. So a traditional ruler per local government, considering the number of states, 36 states, that will give us 108 plus 1 from Abuja, making 109. I think 109 is not too much because it's not the kind of, I'm not talking of meeting every time or regularly like we have with, maybe once in a quarter or once in 2 years. You see, because whenever there is involvement, there is commitment, and the way to pick those, the representatives can easily be worked out by the state council of traditional rulers or the different senatorial districts. And I think, there won't be any problem as far as that is concerned.
The other question I try to is to say that, if you take the comparative example of examples of Malaysia and Britain.
And Britain.
Yeah, and Britain, yes. We in these two societies, we have, a major ethnic group, controlling the entire country or ruling, and therefore they can easily be incorporated into the governance system. But here in Nigeria, at the end of the day, it will be now a question of, are you going, when you get to the federal level, are you going to embark on rotation, which some people are already even opposed to, even at the level of the politicians. So what, in essence, is going to be, the very relevance or essence of the suggestion you have made, which I think is actually very good in terms of involving the traditional rulers. But I'm looking at the role, the effective role this particular council can play.
Well, let me start by saying that I don't see anything difficult as for the modalities to be considered, but it's something that can be worked out. It's a suggestion, and I don't think there's nothing difficult as far as that is concerned. The other thing to also know is that for each, we have so many ethnic groups. There's no way we can say all the ethnic groups should be represented. But we speak more or less the same language. The accepted language for all of us, irrespective of our ethnic groups or regions. I don't think it's difficult. However, this question you have raised, I think is very simple. Very simple. I know that Professor Yakub is a renowned political scientist, and people like you should be able to come up with how you think we can solve that problem. You see, it's not impossible. To me, it's not. When we look at, for instance, I said for the states, for the federal executive council, maybe representatives. It's not the representatives, maybe 2 or 3. One from the north, or maybe 2. One from the north, one from the south. That's all. And whoever is representing any region should not go there without consulting the other traditional rulers. The world is now a global village. We can communicate with ourselves. After all, whatever we are saying now is being aired all over the world. So it's not a real problem for us to do. It's just what is important is honesty of purpose. And with somebody like Professor Yakub, who can guide us as to how to go about it, I think there will be a solution. Wherever there is a will, there's always a solution. Thank you, Prof.
Kabesi and Professor Yakub, let me throw a proposal. Will it not be possible to say we take just one item, say security, and we reconfigure the security budget at both federal and state level? And we take that some of those money to where those insecurity challenges exist. And we say, okay, you are the emir of Zamfara, you are the king of Ondo. Part of your job is the maintenance of security. That's just one proposal. In other words, we are not just involving them, we are being very specific in the role they are going to play. What do you think about that?
Thank you, Professor Falola. Now, as for budgeting money for particular areas to the traditional rulers, there's no doubt that is to be the ultimate. Take the security you have mentioned, for instance. Who do you think, who are the people responsible for security in the different communities? The truth is that it's the traditional institution. And what do I mean by that? We have our own ways of solving security problems. For instance, we have different committees for security. We have the one for students because of cultism and students' youth restiveness and all that. We have another one that has to do with the traditionalists. I will cite an example to make it clearer. At a time, cultism was very common in Ondo. We had a good number of youths that are into cultism. I contacted the government security agencies. They could not do much. We called the meetings of the Christians and the Muslims. They did the best they could do, but that did not solve the problem. I had to call on the traditional adherent people. At the end of it all, I repeat, they made all the cultists in Ondo Kingdom and other areas, from other areas in Ondo State, they made them to renounce cultism. It's not just renouncing cultism. All their arms and ammunition, everything, they surrendered everything. They surrendered that. It's only the traditional institution that can do that. We should not go into the details of how that is done. But then that's just telling you that there are some things that are being left undone. But I mean, if we do that now, we involve the traditional institution, that will go a long way. But I can assure you that considering the caliber of the people at the helm of affairs in the traditional institution, these are accomplished people. Accomplished in the sense that they have gotten to the peak of their career, in most cases before they now decided to help their community. They are not the kind of people that we attempt to embezzle any money. And such monies should not even be given to the traditional ruler or whatever. A committee will be set up for such, to manage, to monitor the expenses and all that. And so I think it's only, I believe that if the will is there, this thing is done. Thank you, Prof.
The next question, sir.
Thank you, Your Royal Majesty. I was actually worried about, corruption creeping in, and I think the suggestion you have given about setting up a committee, and expectedly, we would think that the committee will also be well policed to ensure that money meant for a particular purpose or area, will be judiciously spent. Your Royal Majesty, sir, I want to, I have also listened to your various explanations about, what you have done since you became the Oshemawe of Ondo Kingdom. And I am quite impressed, with the kind of acceptability your programs, as well as, the initiatives you have taken, especially under the COVID-19 pandemic. All the same, sir, how can we assess the impact of this? And I want to also extend this question to, there are communities that are not originally of Ondo descent that live in your community. And I particularly want to mention the Ibera people who are largely farmers in your kingdom. How do they also benefit from this impact of your reign?
Thank you very much, Prof. You see, when discussing about religion the other time, I said, as far as Oshemawe is concerned, what I said when we were discussing the issue of religion, that Oshemawe is for all religion, his own is civil religion. The same thing is applicable with the ethnic groups that are living in Ondo because they are contributing their respective quota to the development of Ondo Kingdom. So we take them as part of us. As long as you drink the Ondo water and you walk on Ondo soil, you can be rest assured that you are taken to be an integral part of Ondo Kingdom. I also cited the example of the Surgery Festival, and that whoever is around, wherever they even come from, they are not limited to being from Ondo or from anywhere. It's everybody that comes, and particularly those that are residents in Ondo Kingdom, because each of the ethnic groups that are living here do have, each of them do have the role to play, their quota to contribute to the development of Ondo Kingdom. So we cannot isolate them. We cannot prevent them from benefiting from whatever we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Royal Majesty. My next question will be on the relationship among the Obas in Yoruba land. I am also aware that you talk largely on the issue of seniority of the Yoruba Obaship. And I also know that you have said that it is not a controversy you want to involve yourselves in, but one will still expect that the Yoruba nation or people who agree that they are all descendants of Oduduwa should actually find a modality for engaging among themselves in a way that other ethnic groups will not be considering them as rancorous among themselves. I don't know what, again, you want to add to what you have already said to actually, indicate to the rest of our viewers. How do you, ensure that there is very, friendly atmosphere or relationship among the Obas?
Thank you very much, Professor Yakub. Let me start by saying that Oshemawe, as the king of Ondo, maintains very good relationship with all the traditional rulers in Nigeria, irrespective of where they are. For instance, I've had to attend some functions, or specifically the 10th anniversary of the Sultan of Sokoto, and the Sultan came for during the Kimbogunde, our annual event. He came to be the chairman of the day. The Emir of Kano, the immediate past Emir, had calls to be involved in the wedding of one of my children, and even the Obi of Onitsha was at a time the royal father at the wedding of one of my children as well, and I've had to be the royal father at Owala, their own annual festival. One can go on and on. And in the Yoruba kingdom, for instance, about 2 days ago, I was the chairman, the royal father, at the celebration of the 90th birthday anniversary of one of the traditional rulers in this area. What I'm saying is that on individual level, we maintain very good relationship with one another. But then we have different ways of handling problems. And the problem we actually have is not because of title, but some of us, they have personal differences Let me just put it that way. And we are looking into how we can resolve that. Some dated back to the time some of them were even installed, or to the time dated back to the time that preceded their installation, or even before they were born. So I think that it's difficult. It varies. However, the major issues, I think, we are looking into it. And you know, the moment we believe that we are just for our communities, there's not much one can do. We are rats, we are social animals. We are dependent on each other, and we should look for ways by which we can work collaboratively. And again, I mean, permit me to also say that some of us are in the habit of talking as if they are the only one representing everybody. No, we should be involved. All the component parts should be involved in taking decisions, in making statements, particularly at the national level. I think that's another problem. In other words, I'm talking of individual problems, then as well as the kind of personalities, and then the fact that some are not being carried along. And once you have that, there's a limit to what you can do. For instance, again, the last time we had a meeting of the traditional rulers in Southwest was maybe about 6 years ago. I'm talking of all of us coming together with representatives. The meeting was at the Premier Hotel. That was the last time that we had all the traditional rulers from the different states being represented. And I was once invited to attend that of the North. They call it Northern Traditional Rulers Meeting or Conference and all that. It is my hope that sooner than later, all these problems will be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Royal Majesty. My next question is about the award of traditional titles to individuals in society. There is a general impression, I call it impression, you know, I mean, in the public space, that sometimes these traditional titles or chieftaincy titles are given to people who are not deserving, either people who have made money and they want to use their influence or the power of that money to get these titles, which actually enhance, you know, their reputation in society. I know, you know, for sure that, you know, given your modernity and your progressive, you know, development, as Professor Falola has put it, this is not going to affect, I mean, it will be of effect in your demand. But can you, sir, speak to this issue of who are usually, or what criteria would be used to award chieftaincy titles to deserving people in society?
Thank you very much, Professor Yakub. And I also want to thank Professor Falola for his kind remarks.
Yes.
Now, the issue of traditional, giving of traditional title, let me give you an analogy of the way I ascended the throne. Then that will make you able to understand where I'm coming from. As a medical doctor, I was to travel out of this country to attend a medical conference, that of WONCA, that's World Organization of Family Physicians, in the US. It was done in the process of making the preparation that I was invited to come and take part in the contest. I came with the intention of just filling the form, whatever I was supposed to do, and then travel. Then I was requested to wait for the outcome. To cut the long story short, in the first place, I did not spend a dime. I did not spend one kobo. Because like I said before, we have eminent people at the helm of affairs in Ondo Kingdom. Whoever, I mean, our own titles are not for sale. because you are to serve the people. So if I got my own title without spending a dime, then how can I get to the throne and be requesting people to give me money? For what? However, I mean, there was something that was considered before I was invited. They looked into my own records in the publics as well as in the private practice, and then my father's contribution to the development of this community, the legacy he left, was what was considered. And at the end of it all, I did not pay anything. That's the kind of thing we have here. It's not giving the title to the highest bidder. We don't do that.